are definitely not in LA right now. We are in Montana. We both deal with anxiety, and we both are very kind of similar personalities, which is part of the reason probably why we haven't gotten into any big fights. Because you could be not at work, not at school, on vacation, in a quiet, beautiful, green, whatever place, and still have anxiety. I'm very confrontational, but I think I've just never had a problem with you.
Yeah.
She's like, actually, I've had a million issues with you, but I'm not confrontational. I'm drinking some coffee and just like looking around and appreciating nature.
From the safety of the gondola that got hit by lightning.
It got hit by lightning yesterday. Do you see that? Do you see this piece of grass?
Yeah.
Terrifying.
The scariest thing we did today was I ate the clam amuse-bouche that none of the rest of your family would try. 1 cubic potato per square cube. What do we say? Like per square foot? Like 1 per square cube of potato.
1 cube of potato. Yeah, honestly, maybe they should hire us. We're from LA. Hire us. Oh my god! What is that? It has a red head. Is that a bird? I know, but what kind of bird? Chloe just did donuts. It was awful, and she ruined the grass, the really nice grass.
I'm not a white U.S. president. I've never golfed before, okay?
Okay, welcome to Unrelatable, a podcast where we dive into various topics. Today, I'm here with one of my best friends, Chloe, and we are going to talk about change and the difficulty of change and kind of just Chloe and her unrelatability and her life and her current journey and where she is in her life and just different techniques that she uses to deal with change. And I'm not going to keep talking about it because then I'll ruin it for you guys, but keep watching. And thank you, Chloe, for being here.
I'm happy to be here.
And if you didn't notice, we are definitely not in LA right now. We are in Montana. And we're on vacation with my family, and there's some bugs and some wind, so just be mindful of us potentially smacking a mosquito or two, and potentially massive flies flying behind us. And if you notice one and we don't, you can totally point that out, and I'm glad that I didn't see it if there is one behind me and I don't notice it. So stay tuned. This is how Chloe and I met. There was a tailgate at USC. I didn't go to the tailgate. I went to my friend's apartment instead, who was pledging a fraternity, and all of his fraternity brothers could not go to the tailgate because they were pledging. They weren't allowed. And he invited his 2 friends, this one girl and Chloe. And this one girl and Chloe showed up. And I was in my PJs, and I was like, who are these random girls that you invited? And Chloe had a cut on her arm because she had just fallen on a bird scooter. And of course, boys don't have Neosporin and hydrogen peroxide and Band-Aids. All of those 3 things in their apartments. And if they do, I'm so sorry. I appreciate you. But I, as a extreme hypochondriac and freak nurse woman thing that I am, noticed that she was cut. We were talking, we were hanging, and I offered to her and the other girl to come to my apartment so that she could clean her little cut. And then we became friends.
Yeah.
We've been now friends for basically 5 years, coming up in September. Mm-hmm. And we've had a lot of ups and downs. We've never, I don't think we've ever, butted heads. We've always been very good at communicating with each other.
Yeah. We don't really, neither of us is super confrontational. So...
I think I'm very confrontational, but I think I've just never had a problem with you.
Yeah.
She's actually, I've had a million issues with you, but I'm not confrontational.
I just, if I have a problem, I bring it up.
Yeah, no, that's how I am.
So,
but I don't think I can really, I feel like, yeah. But we've never really had, a big...
dramatic fight or anything.
We're just let's deal with it head on. And that's a really scary mosquito.
There are bugs. We are outside.
But I think what we really kind of wanted to come on here and talk about is getting away from the city and resetting your mind. And for the 2 of us, I mean, I'm in a very fast-paced life, and Chloe has a very unrelatable situation herself, which she can explain, which is part of the reason why she lives in Santa Barbara. But it has been, this whole week, we've been kind of really trying to mentally reset and go back to our lives tomorrow in LA and Santa Barbara. and come on here and talk about the fact that we both deal with anxiety and we both are very kind of similar personalities, which is part of the reason probably why we haven't gotten into any big fights.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so Chloe.
Yes.
Will you explain to me why you're in Santa Barbara?
Yeah, so
And how old you are.
Okay, I'm 24. I actually turned 25 a week from Monday, which is in 2 days. It's Saturday.
Which is the
15th of July. But yeah, I am a student at UC Santa Barbara. I started school a little bit later. I don't really have a particular explanation as to why. I just always assumed I was going to go to college and wasn't really in any sort of rush around the time I was like 18, 19. I also ended up like going to high school online, so
Sorry.
It wasn't a really urgent and pressing matter to me. I spent a lot more time kind of like clubbing and doing LA influencer-y stuff, which was really fun and exciting at 18 when you're getting snuck into a club by some 35-year-old promoter. Yeah, and then the pandemic happened and started...
We met right before the pandemic.
Yeah, we did. We met 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Pandemic happened, so I started doing school online, which was a lot easier for me. I have really bad ADHD, and for a really long time I didn't understand really what that meant or how that worked, and so it took a couple of years, well, mostly my whole life, to figure out like how to do school in a way where I could be successful on paper, and get good grades and still keep up with everything and not get overwhelmed.
I think honestly, like, there's like a standard way of doing things where it's like you go to high school in person, you graduate at 18, you go to college, you get a job out of college, you do internships in college, and then you obviously have the rollout of having a job.
Yeah.
And most people, I mean, I guess maybe 50% of people actually don't have that experience. Like, a lot of people.
Especially with the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, there's a gap year involved, or there is, you know, just something else. Or, you know, sometimes high school doesn't work for people. And as much as, like, I wish I could have gone to online school, part of me is also glad that I stayed. Because I feel like, for me, that's a huge mosquito.
Yeah,
it was very character building for me to stay and just deal with it. Because but in certain instances, like, things work better for different people.
But I still have a hard time sort of accepting that I didn't get the traditional high school experience, and that was just, like, a major loss for me. And so I kind of thought, like, okay, I'll get to reclaim that in college. And then the pandemic happened, and I kind of held off going for, like, another year because I didn't want to, like, transfer into school when classes were still online or people were wearing masks. I wanted to have as normal of an experience as I could. So yeah, I transferred 2 years ago, and it was a lot different than I expected it to be. It was like my first time ever living outside of Los Angeles, and I had been living on my own for a couple years at that point, I think like 4 years. So I thought like I really understood how adult life worked. And then I, you know, was in a relationship for a long time, and that provided a ton of structure and stability for my life. And the day before I moved to college, we broke up, and we were together for like a long time. And so
most of our friendship, a chipmunk.
Oh, it's
Hi.
so cute.
It's like staring at us.
You can eat it. It's really small.
Oh, Alvin. He's actually really chunky.
They're so small.
when we talk about stability and comfortability and routine, which is kind of part of the reason why I was kind of too scared to break out of the routine. Like, there were urges that I felt like I really want to go to online school, but then I was like, I'm too scared to break out of my routine. And I think the routine is what helped me get through the high school experience. The routine's what helped me go from 18 to 19 to 20 to 21 through college. But, and I mean, I guess in your case, like having a relationship and having a human, even a person that feels like comfortable. But for in this moment right now, in this transitional phase of graduating and kind of being almost at the tail end of your college experience, and also being older by a few years than some of the people at college with you, what does that feel like? Like that almost kind of like breaking out of the routine that you've now really kind of encapsulated yourself in.
It's terrifying. I think, yeah, I really learned how to, after moving and getting out of my comfort zone and doing all these things I had never had the courage to push myself to do until I had like the background of college to kind of get me to move. I've found a lot of like structure and stability around just the routine of college and working and doing things and having like structuring my social life and extracurricular activities, just stuff like that, and having stuff to fill my time.
Right.
And so the age thing, I mean, I think the age thing bothered me at first. I was a little nervous about it, and that was like initially when I first got there, I rushed a sorority.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was like light years ago.
Yeah.
At this point.
I know. I was in a sorority for about, I don't know, a couple months, and I ended up dropping because I just didn't really realize that like the people I would be friends with would be incoming freshmen and sophomores.
So what is it like being older and having the experiences that you have? Like you're talking about, like, okay, well, I took a break from college. From going to school, obviously we had a pandemic, and you mentioned like going out and being a part of the scene in LA. So you kind of had these experiences built on top of you by the time you got to college. Now that you have a few years on you, and I think that like the college years are like the biggest years of transformation. So being at that age where you've kind of had a couple years of that, and then being around a bunch of people that have not had that yet, what is that like? Because obviously you made the decision to rush it, and then you made the decision to drop it. So
yeah.
And you lived with a bunch of girls for a few years too. So like,
yeah, I did live with.
What was that like? Just because, I mean, I guess at the end of the day too, like I have really good friends of mine that are 10 years older than me, and we have a way to be friends, but there's always going to be that, okay, well, you have 10 years of experience on me, or I have my own experiences that you can't relate to. But for you, what was that like? That was a long question, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I do. I think it hasn't been as much of an issue as I think it is in my head. There's definitely like a narrative and a story about being older in college and, you know, being a like non-traditional student.
Yeah.
But in reality, I'm only like 2 to 3 years older than my friends.
That's true.
Yeah,
we're not talking like 15-year-olds.
Yeah, like I mean, probably the biggest age gap is I have a friend who's like 19, but it has always just felt so natural to be her friend. It's never been like there's a very obvious age gap. I would say she's an outlier. But yeah, I think I was definitely drawn to older people. Like most of my friends have consistently every year been seniors, so like as a transfer student, it's really, number one, transferring is really difficult. It's really difficult to integrate into people who are kind of already established and they have these relationships they've been building for years. And that was, I think, the biggest shock to me, is how difficult it would be to make friends. And yeah, I didn't really think about that because I just thought that like college was like very easy and like it just happened. But once I transferred, I found that a lot of people already had their integrated friend groups, and so I made a lot of like standalone friends, and most of my friends my first year were all seniors that graduated. And then so this last year I had to kind of start again, and I had the same thing. All of my friends pretty much just graduated. I have like 1 semester left. Well, quarter. We're on a quarter system. But I think for the most part, I don't notice a difference because we're all in the same boat in our lives. Like, we're all at the same...
I think the biggest thing is, well, first of all, change is really hard. And I've always had a really hard time with change. I know you too, because we share that kind of feeling. But that is a point in time where you're never going to just feel the same. You're either going to be like really, really excited or really, really, really nervous, or you're not going to just be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's going to feel something. Obviously, in my case, it was an extremely unrelatable experience because I had all of those feelings, and then my whole life changed within a singular phone call. But, you know, I think any change, big or small, is really, really hard. And just the unknown of, will I like my job? Even if you know what job you have, even if you've accepted it. You're like, am I making the right decision? Do I want to go to this new city? Am I going to have friends? And I think even you going into college, I remember, like, just hearing the nerves in your voice. And then just with every semester and every, you know, just, every semester that went by, it sounded like you got more and more adjusted and comfortable. But then you had these just constant transitions of, like, your friends graduating or
going abroad.
Moving to a foreign country, or, like, you know, just anything where you're taken out of the routine and the comfortability, and, like, facing any discomfort is just, like, a big shock to the system. What do you do to handle stress in times of change and in times of, like, discomfort and transition?
I think the response has always been different throughout my life. Now I definitely am doing a lot of meditation and yoga, which is kind of the only thing that is helping, and just talking to people about it.
Yeah.
It helps that, like, I have friends who are in the same boat, and they are also just graduated, and they're sad and, you know, scared and confused, and they don't know what comes next. And I also have friends who have graduated for a couple of years, and so it's nice to get that guidance.
So finding people that you can relate to helps you.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was such a difficult transition to, like, transition into college because I had nobody else who, like, had the same experience. But as I'm sort of transitioning out of it, there are, you know, all my peers are also transitioning out of it. They're also transitioning into, you know, the real world. They're also looking for jobs and trying to figure things out. I would say I think the only difference for me is there is this distinct sense of, like, because I'm older, I feel like I'm running out of time. But I also think that that's a really common thing. Yeah. Not just, but, like, for anybody.
Well, there's so much pressure. I mean, we're actually watching 1923 on this trip. It's very fitting. A Taylor Sheridan show about Montana.
It's so great.
It's amazing if you haven't seen it.
It's so good.
But my point is basically a lot of, you know, there's a lot of pressure in that show as women to get married young and have family. And in this specific case, just watching the timeline and the age of this 19-year-old woman being put into a forced marriage, or, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of the women are really young and getting married, and I think for us, it's like, what are we going to do with our careers? And when do we need to get married? And when do we need to have kids? And there's a lot of this timeline pressure that I think is put on us. I mean, men and women. I think everyone. But
I think with women, though, it's really different because you do have
that biological
you have the biological clock.
Yeah.
That's a completely separate thing. And I think
For sure.
since, you know, as women have been pushing to be a more equal part of the workforce, which is great, but there's not equity there. So women are expected to do the same amount of work as men, but we're also expected to do all the reproductive labor.
You know what's insane actually is, I think the older you get, I'm 24, you start learning things that you didn't obviously know, like, you know, maternity leave and paternity leave. Those are things that I just like I didn't really ever need to ask about that stuff.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like planning on having a child tomorrow, but like I work with people that have been on paternity leave and maternity leave recently, and in the UK women can get a year off fully paid, and in the US women sometimes have to go back to work the next day, or expected to go back to work the next day. I think legally it's a couple weeks that you can get off, but like that's so nuts. Those little things are things that like we also take into account when we're like growing up and like feeling like extra stress on us about like our careers and our timelines and our paths, and like feeling this kind of almost sense of pressure. So when you're like graduating from college, you're not only thinking about like, oh, I have to go have a first day of work and I don't know what I want to do tomorrow, but I don't know what the next 5 years are going to look like, or I don't know what my whole career will look like, but I want to be super successful, but how do I make that happen now? And just all of these kind of like conversations that you have with yourself that are monumental. And I don't know if that comes with having like OCD or anxiety, or just having like a really chatty mind like me and obviously you, which is why we can sit and talk about these things and be like, oh my God, thank God someone gets it. But I do think even the people that act completely comfortable and safe with their situations probably feel the same way. And I'm curious, whoever's listening to this, if you have a difficult time with change, or have a hard time with just a change in your schedule, or any kind of just shift in your routine, I'm curious to hear about that. And yeah, what does it make you feel like, and how do you cope with it? And if you have any tips,
we could always use tips.
Yeah, I think
we're always looking for
it's
tips.
Helpful. I mean, an example is literally today. We were walking down the hill and we were just talking about having anxiety, and neither of us had mentioned it. But this morning when we woke up, I was really feeling just kind of anxious out of nowhere, and I didn't really bring it up, and I was kind of being a little more quiet than usual. And we went down and had coffee and hung out and ran into my mom and her friend and her husband and my dad. And we walked around and we had fun and met a few new people. And then I kind of shook it off. But I just didn't feel good and happy and comfortable this morning when I woke up. And then when we were driving back, I noticed that Chloe was all of a sudden very kind of quiet and acting almost how I had felt myself acting earlier in the day. And so I brought it up and was like, what's going on? And had you know, I think had I not mentioned it, you probably wouldn't have said anything, because it's easier to just, I think it is really hard to like bite it when you're dealing with those feelings, to like be like, I'm really anxious right now.
Yeah.
And talking about it when you feel that way. But she did what she needed to do, and she went and meditated. And when I get really, okay, disgusting, massive fly, please leave. That was disgusting. It was literally the size of my thumb.
It was really big.
That was huge.
It's still right there.
Ew!
Okay, it's gone.
Oh my God.
It's a horsefly.
What is a fucking horsefly? Is it literally because it's like big like a horse, or because they like to like eat horses?
They like to be on horses and
Okay.
they bite them.
Okay, because it landed on me and I think it thought I was a horse. So obviously Chloe like went and meditated, and I think like there have been a few times, like even this afternoon, for example, where I just was like, hey, is it cool if we just like relax for a little bit? I need like to wind down. And it is really nice being able to communicate with your friends and being able to like be open. Because I've been in situations with people and in places where I don't feel like I can.
Yeah.
And I do think it really does help, like, being able to talk about it. And when we were walking, we were, like, talking about all the things that we do to, like, deal with it in those situations. And I think that felt really, like, good to hear. And also just for my own benefit, like, oh, this is what you do when you need, you know, to feel pacified in the moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Like the things you do we were talking about, you know, what you do for comfort if you're having like anxiety, and, you know, we're just talking about going on a walk. that's one of my biggest things, just go on a fucking walk.
And I think it did kind of help reset us a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think I definitely felt a lot better afterwards. But...
Because you could be not at work, not at school, on vacation, in a quiet, beautiful, green, whatever place, and still have anxiety, and still feel, out of nowhere, super anxious and uncomfortable. And I think that just comes with dealing with anxiety and dealing with OCD and dealing with all of those things, but also just being a human being.
Yeah. Even, I think there's a lot of both pressure and guilt around needing to feel good all the time.
That's true.
And even if I'm, like, not in the best mood and I'm out and being social and, you know, I'm in a place where I feel like I should be happy and I'm just not, any sort of, it's just not going to make me feel better if I'm trying to reject what's naturally coming up.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think just accepting that and learning my own boundaries and, like, cues of, like, okay, I don't feel good right now. And it doesn't really matter. Maybe, it's, like, the why is not so important as, like, why don't we, like, acknowledge this and,
like, just giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
And being like, this is too much for me right now. I'd feel better being alone, or I'd feel better talking about it, or I'd feel better in this moment going for a little walk.
Yeah.
And being able to do those things and not sitting in that and bubbling up and bubbling over, because then that causes...
Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the hardest things with having anxiety or having depression especially is not learning how to not reject it, but not sit in it and ruminate at the same time. It's a very, like, thin line to walk, and you just nobody else has the answer of what that's going to look like for you, and you just have to figure it out.
Totally.
And so, you know, we're trying to navigate all of these intense emotions and mental health things and have these conversations. And at the same time, you have to go through your day-to-day life.
We're also just normal 24-year-old girls.
Yeah,
that are just trying to have a normal day. But sometimes you just are like, oh, fuck, I do have this thing that I need to deal with, which is I'm anxious out of nowhere. Or why do I have to, you know, feel like I have this random OCD routine thing that I need to do out of nowhere, you know, and just, like, learning how to give yourself grace and talk yourself down and, you know, in the moment, like, understand that that's okay. I don't think it's talked about enough, but it is really cool to be able to, like, talk to each other in, like, different points of our lives, especially, like, when you're going through this big transition and, like, you know, like, having been there and, like, being able to understand that, like, yeah, even though I have a job and everything, like, sometimes you wake up the next day and decide you want to do something completely different with your life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I could decide tomorrow that I don't want to have the career path that I'm, like, looking to have. And that's just part of being young and part of being, like, a creative person, and part of that's a really gross bug. And part of being just, like, you know, at this age, you don't really need to know where you want to be in 20 years. And you don't know. Like, you really don't know. So
I would like to know where I want to be in a year, though.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah, but, like, you have all the tools, and you have a good support system, and I think that's really all that matters. Yeah. But interestingly enough, I think we're going to give you a little glimpse of the week we had. There's little bits and pieces of experiences that we had, and I don't know what compelled me to pull a phone out and start talking, but we're having a very unrelatable week and a very unrelatable destination. Yeah. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. So stick around and enjoy.
Okay, so we're currently on a shuttle driving down
I can't believe we have the flash on
because we went to a nice dinner and then lightning struck a gondola. And we don't want to get struck by a gondola in a lightning gondola, so now we're on a hayride with a bunch of random people on a gondola or on a shuttle. I can't speak English.
We're in a bus.
In a bus.
Like a nice bus. A branded bus.
It's a little intense. We're having a lot of fun.
We're going down a ski run.
We're driving down a ski run,
But it's
in a
fun
shuttle.
because there's no snow. So it's a road.
We'll report back. See ya.
What are you doing?
Okay, we made it. We made it
We
from.
can't connect to HBO Max?
We made it.
Jack Vane doesn't know how to make tea. Weaponized
So we had a lot of fun.
incompetence.
It was really interesting. I know it's extremely boring to hear about this, but
Everybody really does look good from like the back camera. No wonder used to always take her pictures.
we just bleep these. No wonder. So now we're gonna watch House of Dragon. We're having a really good time, and here's my lollipop.
Do I get to check in too?
How's
No,
your night
because I'm
going?
not on the podcast. My night's going good. I saw a chipmunk.
We're not allowed to go in the jacuzzi because my mom's scared we're gonna get eaten
Yeah,
by
we're not allowed
bears.
to go in the jacuzzi because her mom's afraid we're gonna be eaten by bears, even though we're both almost 25 years old.
There's also like only baby bears that have been seen.
Well,
So if anything,
there's
it's gonna
baby
be like,
bears-
what's that Disney movie, Brown Bear? Brother Bear. Isn't that like a Phil Collins soundtrack?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's good.
So
Well, I
I'm
was
scared to
still
look
talking,
into
I
the
was still
camera.
checking
Okay,
out.
I'm sorry. I have such bad ADD. Keep going.
Okay, so I'm trying to pick what hike I want to do, but they don't have pictures, and I want to see pictures of what the hikes are because I want to pick based on what's the prettiest one. Because I don't think Caroline will really go on more than one hike with me. But I do
It's
think
not a
Caroline's
lie.
mom would go on more than one hike with me. And I'm going to sign us up for yoga tomorrow if I can figure out how to do that. And
And you're gonna teach a yoga class to me.
I'm going to practice teaching yoga class to Caroline. And I think I stepped in. I thought it was bunny poop, but I think it might have been deer poop, honestly.
Was it actual poo or did it look like dirt? Like, how do you know?
Because it was like little pellets, but it also could have been moss.
Oh, you know why? You know why it can't connect? Because it's not. It doesn't exist anymore. That's why.
Oh.
Okay,
my
so
God,
if you haven't seen House of Dragon, I actually never saw the first season. And I'm just starting on the second season, and I know.
Which is an awful thing to do.
It's
in
really
any Game
fucked
of
up.
Thrones universe.
But where's
TV
my
show.
lollipop? But yeah, so it's really fucked up of me. But this is what we're doing.
The scariest thing we did today was I ate the clam amuse-bouche that none of the rest of your family would try. And then we got a tomato salad that was more like
We
a
asked for,
watermelon
like-
sorbet.
Okay, it was literally looked like caprese salad. It was like watermelon and basil.
It
and
said watermelon,
burrata,
burrata, balsamic,
and
basil, and
balsamic.
heirloom tomatoes. It came out.
and
They
gave
a
us
Jell-O.
Jell-O.
It was Jell-O with a little scoop of basil ice cream on top.
That was
and
ice
burrata.
cream?
It was like icy.
Okay, yeah, I didn't eat any of it. It was disgusting. And I
It
was like,
wasn't. It didn't taste bad. It didn't taste bad at all. It
like the
if anything
the,
lacked taste.
But when you pushed it near me and I saw it move a little bit, I can't eat this.
The gelatinous. It wasn't even like
Gelatinous salad.
It felt like I was eating like sorbet, and then there were like hearts of
And then they, like-
the tomatoes in there.
Okay, I'm good.
I don't think you would have liked that part, but I
Disgusting.
loved it because I love heirloom tomatoes. It was just
That was not fun
and
for me to look at.
When the steak came out, it's 1 cube of potato.
I can't.
One
I don't
tiny-
like nice people food. I really am like. I'm down to go to like Chick-fil-A. Like, let's go like down
just,
into
like,
the diner. Like,
I just don't like super fine
what's
dining
good with the
when it's,
what's
like,
good with the piece of steak that is this big and
literally
then
2 slices. Okay, we had a cube. We insert the photo right here. Cube of potato, unsalted.
It was just
Unsalted.
one
It was
cube
just
of
one
potato.
cube of potato 1 cubic potato per square
One square cube.
per square cube. Wait, what do they say? Like per square foot? Like 1 per square cube of potato.
1 cube of potato. We sound so high, even though
We
neither of
really
us
do.
had any alcohol. We are just living
then
on the edge right now.
There was just like 2 little teeny things of onions that were cooked in red wine and were really greasy.
Okay, House of Dragon time.
We have to get off HBO Max and go.
So we actually just got into Max after figuring out how to download it, and some random ass fucking families logged in. Who are these people?
Wait, is this like a timeshare? Like, do other people
No, it's
stay
not.
here?
So I
You
just
guys
am a
are
little bit
here?
confused who these people are. Greg and Mop. Which one should we use?
Mop.
I think Greg is giving. Let's do Greg.
Just a light. I thought it was like a.
So I'm one-handing this shit right now. It's gorgeous out.
Really though, whoever's doing the PR for this club,
Good job.
Yeah, honestly, maybe they should hire us. We're from LA. Hire us.
Well,
Wait, is this a hill or is this like a?
it's a hill.
Wait, it's gonna be a.
This is really
Wait, I don't
steep.
think we're supposed to go down this.
I don't think we're supposed to be on the driving range.
How do you?
It doesn't back up. It doesn't.
Yeah, it
back
does. Yes, it does.
Up. Oh, I didn't know it backed up.
Back it on up like a U-Haul.
Back it up like a Tonka truck.
of course, like everything else here so far.
Brandon. That PR team.
Oh my god, it's so cute.
And we're gonna get inside.
Wow. Boy, oh boy.
Oh, it's fun in here. It's a party.
They store stuff in here.
It's a party. Party. Oh my god! What is that? It has a red head. Is it a bird? I know, but what kind of bird? A red robin.
I'm not a. What do they call it?
But Chloe knows very random facts about shit, and she'll just
do
be
look
like,
at that little
"Oh, that's a blue-headed asshole from the native land of assholics." And I'm like, "How do you know that? And where did you learn that?" She's like, "I read it on blah blah blah." And I'm like,
Sometimes I watch nature documentaries and I know stuff.
so like we're currently just literally in the middle of the fucking golf course. And I really think
My
more
hands are
likely than
cold.
I know my hands are so cold.
My hands are
I might
freezing.
flip this cart accidentally.
Okay, suddenly I don't feel so confident.
I told you it's scary. Okay, so Chloe just took the wheel.
We're essentially like on a dirt bike path.
It's a little intimidating.
It's a
The
little
hills are a
steep.
little steep.
It's a little narrow.
I'm also like my whole sinuses are like screaming at me right now because
But it's
the
so
wind.
pretty, Caroline. We have to get out and take pictures
I'm
because the
crying. Oh my god, look. Gorge. Oh, it has a blind spot. That means that someone is playing. We have to go quick. So we don't get hit. Go, go, go. Jesus. It just said it has a blind spot. I thought I was recording that whole time. Chloe just did donuts. It was awful and she ruined the grass, the really nice grass.
I didn't
Can
know.
you see the donuts? Wait.
I've never been golfing.
And I was like, don't do that just because it's not fun for me.
I'm not a white U.S. president. I've never golfed before, okay? Get in the car, let's go. No, there are, because look, there are golf cart tracks all up
People
there.
don't do donuts on this. This is like the putting green where the pencil
Oh my
fell
God.
out.
There's another person coming. We gotta get out of here.
Where? Oh fuck. Yeah, we have to leave. Okay,
Explore it.
that way?
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know where we're going with this.
Back.
This is horrible. Where the fuck does this go?
I don't know, but I feel like I'm in Lord of the Rings.
Is there a Lord of the Rings song that you know? You're getting a little close to the edge.
I know where I am.
Did you hear that thump in the back?
That's the coconut water
Oh.
jiggling around up there. Oh, it's just
Oh,
a
fuck.
U-turn.
Wait, no, you go to the putting. Oh my god, that's so scary. Chloe, I hate this.
I don't like this either. I don't know what to do.
Get out and you can do it yourself. Have fun. Wait, we can go this way, right?
We can't go up that way.
Are you gonna be able to turn around?
Why does
It's really steep.
We are on a gondola.
We're on a gondola. We're eating.
Oh wait, there's the thing.
What
Okay,
thing?
wait.
What thing?
That's the ski run that I did that scared the shit out of me. See that little tiny bunny hill? It's so scary during the winter. Oh my god, PTSD so bad. Do you see that? Do you see this piece of grass?
Yeah.
Terrifying. We're drinking some coffee and just looking around and appreciating nature.
From the safety of the gondola that got hit by lightning last night.
It got hit by lightning yesterday.
Keep up with the Joneses at the end of the block. I know you get tired, I know you get down. Life is short, life is sweet.
It's really loud.
Really loud.
Stars, baby, are we written in the sand? Are we written in the stars, baby? Are we written in the sand? Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is perfect.
Look what we found, a rainbow.